I developed a sensitivity for sound because in the late 1960s I studied with John Cage and became interested in how the act of listening is a way of making music. And I started doing field recordings of sound to document my own listening experiences. And then I began to explore treating sound as a found object and putting it in situations where it didn't naturally occur to change the meaning of the sound. I reacted to Norman Foster's proposal by spending a lot of time studying the architecture of the building, structure of the building, and I started making recordings with accelerometers, a kind of vibration sensor mounted on some structural parts of the building. And that's really the most important, one of the most important elements I'm working with is that the building, the real sound of the building has a voice. And that's the sound that I project outside. But also I became interested in the history of the building because there was once an opera house here. And we made some recordings of a couple of people who had a history here before the opera house was burned down. And so there's that aspect as well. I made this installation by making several visits to Nîmes and making recordings and talking to people. We recorded interviews with these women who had memories here as dancers. I heard some old radio broadcasts about the building. I used some sections of that in my mix. And then a lot of time I spent with engineering, actually, to design think about the technical system that would be here. And I spent the last 3 days sitting in front of a computer programming a mix. Well, it's a building that's both a very contemporary building, kind of cutting edge architecture. But it's also a building that has a lot of memory and a lot of history, because you look out and you see this Roman temple. And I'm also very aware of that for 150 years there was an opera house on this same place. This work is called Resonant Silences. And it combines having some live sensors on structural parts of the building with recordings that, to me, reflect various historical aspects of this place. And all the sounds. There's 8 small loudspeakers behind me, and the sounds are doing a kind of choreography. They're moving through the space, making different layers and combinations.
Même chose, elle a été doublée.
I found the sound by walking around with recording equipment and looking and putting a sensor on something and really just experimenting a lot. I want to remember the history of the building and have a sound piece that's a little bit of a dream of this memory, but also is connected to the present because I've got live sensors in the building and some of the sounds you're hearing are live. Well, to me it's giving the building a voice, and the sound that it's playing is the kind of resonance of a very musical part of the structure. And it's sort of like, to me, the building is singing a little bit outside, not in a really loud way. It's not like rock and roll music. It's not overwhelming the space, but it's very present and kind of floating out there. I think that there's an important role that sound can play in the future of architecture, because most buildings are designed without a lot of thought to what they sound like. So I'm quite interested in getting architects to think about the sound inside and outside of their buildings.